Okay, so we're back. We're working on kitchen design, the second part, and I want to go through standard sizes. I'm giving you approximations. This is just a rough idea. You're going to have to do some research for this one more than you did for the living room assignment, okay? And I want to kind of give an example of a working triangle. And although your design is going to be top down on a floor plan, it's kind of easier to explain standard sizes if I do this somewhat 3D. So what I've created here is in pencil, I did what would be called an L-shaped layout or an L-shaped kitchen. All right, and let's just set up the triangle right off the bat. So the triangle is all about food in, food out, right? Raw food in, cooked food out. So let's say that this is your entryway here. So here's our entry. Because remember, food storage should always be near the entryway. And let's say that the people in this scenario eat at, and they have one of those, they either have a big long dining table in their kitchen or they have one of those islands where you can sit around the island. But let's just say that this is what they call an eat-in kitchen. So in an eat-in kitchen, you have a table and chairs. And so let's say that they're a little bit out of the way there. They're not actually in the space, right? So let's say that the kitchen's down this way. Like so, down from the kitchen here, we have a table. I'm not going to bother sketching it, but there's a table and people eat at it, and it's over this way. So logically, if you're following the triangle, the food storage should be here, right? Because you're bringing in your groceries. You just for practicality's sake, you want to have food storage close to that, and you might even have like in the entryway or on the side, you might have like a tall pantry or something. Maybe I'll sketch that. And food storage includes your fridge. That's super important to remember because having a pantry far away from your fridge is just doesn't make a lot of sense. You can have upper cabinets to help store food, but mostly upper cabinets end up being like plates and cups and dishes and stuff. Now this section here, since we've got our food storage over here, the second part of the triangle from the food storage is the food prep. So our food prep's got to be around here because you only want to take like 3 big steps from grabbing stuff out of the fridge to going and washing your produce, and then you're going to have to cook it. So then you only want another 3 steps. Now, even though this is an L shape, doesn't matter. For sure, your oven's got to be around here somewhere. Somewhere in here you're going to cook things. And if you really look at it, it's a triangle. I'm not sure what kind of triangle that is. It's been a while since I taught math, but that's a triangle. And then the food comes out, like when it's cooked, the food comes out and it's easy to serve to your family or whoever you're feeding. So let's go through a couple of, so that's like my work triangle setup. You can have a work triangle in an L-shaped place. You can also have them in a galley kitchen and a bunch of other ones. I'll do a different one about that. But right now I want to talk about standard sizes for things because this is where things get weird. So a base cabinet, oh sorry, that's the dog moving my entire table. So a base cabinet is a cabinet that is standard built, and contractors buy them. Generally, like you can buy them from IKEA or whatever. They might build them, but why would they? They're pre-made, they're easy to use, and they're kind of almost like a Lego block. If you think about it, it's like the standard Lego block. So when I talk about a base cabinet is either 2 feet by 2 feet, which is basically your regular cupboard. If you think about a regular cupboard with doors that open that way, that's how big it is. It's 2 feet by 2 feet. Now, you can have a base cabinet that is wider, that you actually insert like a dishwasher into, and a dishwasher, unless you buy a specialty one, is not going to fit this kind of space. So if you're having a dishwasher, which you would go by DW, a dishwasher generally just for clearance because of all the pipes and stuff, not because your dishwasher is necessarily that big, but generally speaking, it needs to be 3 wide. You'll notice that I'm making it too deep, and here's why. Pretty much all countertops are going to be 25 inches long. That's because you want to be able to reach across it to clean it easily, but your standard depth is always going to be 2 squares plus a little bit of your actual counter. And it's resting on this base cabinet. So your countertops are going to take up 2 and a bit, right? So if the base was this, then the countertop would be this deep. So, oh, sorry, I went too much. The countertop would be 2 deep plus a little boo. That is a counter. Okay, and replay this for yourself if I'm going too fast. So that's how deep all your counters are going to be. Now, countertops can be any length. You can order them pre-cut in 6-foot lengths, but you can also order them in many other lengths, and countertops can be made from many things like granite or marble. I mean, they can be super fancy or just lino, right? Whatever your budget is. But remember, for your dream home, your budget's like millions of dollars. A general rule in kitchen design and when renovating is that the kitchen and the bathroom take up almost 50% of your budget for building a house because that's what buyers look for. They really, really look for kitchen, and they really, really look at bathrooms. So you should spend some money in here. All right, I'm digressing yet again. So let's go and start from the beginning. I'm coming in with my groceries. Where am I putting them? Well, I'm putting them in a fridge. Here's where the problem comes in. Fridges, I'm going to go over to my standard measurements. A fridge is not 2 feet deep unless you buy a specialty fridge like I did. I have what's called an apartment size fridge, and it costs me way more than a regular size fridge. So my fridge is 2x2, and fridges you just put an F. But most fridges are deeper than that. Most fridges are 30 inches, and that's a narrow one, and 36 inches deep if it's like a standard. They're way bigger than that. I have a tiny fridge. It's tall though, so like it takes up the same space as like a dorm room fridge, but it's super tall and I get quite a bit in it. So this would be 36 inches by 36 inches, or you might have one that was like half of that, so it'd be 30 inches, gonna take up that much. So here's a fridge, and a fridge. All right, this fridge is gonna be 30 inches deep, and they'll be varying widths. Some of them are even like this, and they're bigger. And this is the issue. If you have a cabinet and countertop goes out 2 and a bit, let's give it a little bit of a lip, and you are trying to insert a fridge into here. So say you were going to put a fridge like right away here, then your fridge is going to stick out. So if I make this the fridge, right, and I'm going to make it like this, then my fridge actually is going to stick out, and it's going to go straight up, and it's going to be quite high because I want like a nice big fridge. I want lots of storage. Sorry, that line shouldn't be there. It should be like this or something. I'm having a hard time sketching. Oh, here we go. Sorry. So if this is my fridge, right, this is the top of my fridge, and I've got my handle for my fridge. So if this is my fridge, and it's a typical fridge with the freezer on top, then it juts out, but that's not the worst thing on earth. So when you come in with your groceries, you come in, then down here, there's definitely going to be storage for food. So usually we use cupboards for that, but you can also have what's called a pantry. You can have a pull-out pantry. So you can make this also very, very tall. And this can be P for pantry, and this can pull out on casters so that you've got room for storage. Now this kitchen's looking a lot less big because I made like this massive pantry, and I might have a corner cabinet in here too. And the corner cabinet would have uppers, and you would have food in there. So all of a sudden, this whole wall becomes food storage, which is fine. Let's move on. You need a sink. Okay. And you need a cook stove. Okay. So let's say we put the sink here. Let's put a window here, because it's always nice to look out when you're doing dishes. So typically you'll see a lot of windows. Let's have a really huge window for some crazy reason. So we've got a window here and a sink with a faucet. And let's say that you actually want to have a double sink. Well, then you're taking up this much room. So you'd have a double sink with usually a central tap, and then let's call this tap the the drinking water tap, whatever. So here's our sink. So our sink's on these cabinets, big, huge double sink. You can get a small double sink that will fit on a base cabinet as well. And let's say we're going to put a cooktop over here. So we're all very familiar with cooktops. The cooktop is going to need some kind of range hood, because exhaust is super important when you're cooking. And places that don't have them can develop problems with mold and all kinds of stuff. It's very unhealthy. So we've got our range hood, and maybe we make that window smaller. Maybe the window's only this big, and then you can have some floating shelves up here for storing like your really pretty dishes and stuff. And ideally I would have one more thing here, because where are you putting hot stuff? And where are you plating the food? So this would be like the finishing. I would call this the finisher spot. I would have this in like a butcher block or something that could withstand heat, so that if I took a pan off, I could put it here and just rest it while I did other stuff. So in here, this is where your chopping would go on and your prepping, and then you're basically moving the food this way until you've cooked it, right? And if this is a standard oven range, there's a problem, because it also bumps out like a fridge. It's also like way thicker. It's like 3 feet out, right? So it sticks out way more again. So it's going to stick out from this cute little, let's put drawers here for extra storage for plates and stuff, because this is where you're going to plate your food. But this is still a working triangle. This actually is a decent design. It's small but compact. And then the food is done and it comes out. So that's sort of like talking a little bit about standard sizes and working triangle. Websites that I want you to go on, I'll list, but IKEA kitchens, you need to go on there. There's tons of stuff about with measurements. And if you really get into this and you want to get an E, they have an online kitchen planner. And I think it would be really cool if you guys have a computer and you can make it work, for you to actually plan out your kitchen on that for your dream home. For this, you don't have to, but just be aware that there are online kitchen planners that you can use. For this, you still need to do a sketch. Your sketch does not have to look like this. Your sketch needs to be just like your other sketch you did, where it's top down. It'll be very, very simple. It needs to show that there's a working triangle. You don't have to use standard sizes, and I'm going to talk about that in the next little section.